James stared at the glowing screen of his phone, his coffee going cold on the kitchen counter. The news alert read in bold letters. Police announce audio recording. The truth reverses the entire case. His heart pounded as he realized this was about William, the man whose name he had whispered in secret for 2 years, the man he loved more than anything but had never dared to claim publicly. In the quiet of his Chicago apartment, James Thompson, a 28-year-old marketing coordinator at Apex Dynamics, felt the world tilt. How had it come to this? Just months ago, everything seemed manageable, a delicate balance of hidden passion and family duty. But now, with the police stepping in and that audio about to hit the media, the walls he had built around his life were about to crumble. It all started on a rainy Tuesday, 2 years earlier. James had been rushing to a team meeting when he bumped into William Hayes in the hallway of their downtown office building. William, the sharp-eyed accountant with sandy blonde hair and a warm smile that could light up the grayest Chicago day, had steadied him with a firm hand on his shoulder. "Whoa, easy there," William had said, his voice deep and reassuring. "You okay, James?" They had exchanged numbers for work reasons, but the first text came that evening. "Hey, if you need help with that quarterly report, I'm here. Coffee sometime." What began as professional support quickly turned into late-night conversations that stretched into personal territory. James, who had grown up in a small town in Illinois with parents who still sent him church bulletins and asked when he'd bring home a nice girl, found himself opening up in ways he never had. William, originally from California, was out to his friends but understood the struggle of navigating conservative circles. Their first real date was at a quiet Italian place on the north side, far from the office. Over pasta and red wine, James felt a spark he couldn't ignore. William listened as James talked about the pressure from his family, the endless questions from his mother about settling down. "It's not easy," William had said, reaching across the table to brush James's hand. "But you don't have to face it alone." That touch lingered in James's mind for days. As weeks turned to months, their relationship deepened. Secret weekends in William's apartment, stolen kisses in the parking garage, whispered promises during lunch breaks. James felt alive for the first time, his identity no longer a shadow but a truth he was beginning to embrace. William was patient, never pushing for public acknowledgement, knowing the cost it could have on James's career and family ties. "When you're ready," he'd say, his eyes full of understanding. But the cracks started showing when James's parents announced a surprise visit to Chicago. His mother, Elaine, and father, Robert, arrived with suitcases full of expectations. "We want you to meet our friend's daughter, Sarah," his mother said over dinner at a steakhouse. "She's perfect for you, James. Stable, from a good family." James forced a smile, his stomach twisting as William's text buzzed in his pocket. "How's the family dinner going?" He replied with a lie. "Fine," but the guilt ate at him. That night, after his parents went to their hotel, James met William at their usual spot by the lake. "I can't keep doing this," James confessed, the wind whipping around them. William pulled him close. "I know it's hard, but your happiness matters too." Their embrace under the city lights was a brief escape, but James knew the pressure was building. Little did he know, the real storm was brewing at work. The following Monday, the finance department sent out an urgent email, $50,000 missing from a major client account. Fingerprints pointed to William's login credentials. James watched from his cubicle as 2 security guards escorted William to HR. Whispers spread like wildfire through the open-plan office. "I always thought he was too smooth," someone muttered. James's colleague Mark leaned over the partition. "You two were pretty tight on that project. You notice anything off?" James shook his head, but doubt crept in like fog off the lake. That evening, he confronted William in the apartment. "Tell me you didn't do it." William's face went pale. "You really think I would?" The argument ended with James storming out, the first real fracture in their bond. Back home, he replayed every late night William had spent at the office, every unexplained expense. The weight of family expectations mixed with this new fear until James could barely sleep. By the time the police opened a formal investigation, James had convinced himself he needed distance to protect his own future. He stopped answering William's calls, telling himself it was temporary. Yet every morning he woke with the same ache, the same question. How much of himself was he willing to bury to keep the peace? The distance James created only made the ache sharper. Days turned into a week, and William stopped texting. At work, the investigation intensified. Auditors pored over files while James buried himself in campaigns, pretending the knot in his chest didn't exist. His mother called every evening, her voice bright with updates about Sarah. She just got promoted at the bank. Honey, you two would make such a handsome couple. James mumbled agreements, the lies piling up like unpaid bills. On Friday, he finally broke and drove to William's building, sitting in his car for 20 minutes before knocking. William opened the door, eyes tired but kind. "Come in," he said simply. They sat on the couch without touching. "I didn't take the money, James. Someone set me up." James wanted to believe him, but the evidence the company shared looked damning. "Then why won't you fight it publicly? Tell them the truth about us." William's laugh was bitter. "And drag you into this mess? Your dad's golf buddy sits on the board. One whisper, and your whole career, your family, everything implodes." James left without a kiss, the sacrifice William offered feeling heavier than any accusation. The next month blurred into routine avoidance. James attended a family reunion in Illinois, smiling through questions about his love life, while his father clapped him on the back and talked about real men providing for a wife and kids. Back in Chicago, the rumors grew louder. Mark started lingering at James's desk, dropping hints that William had been acting different since the missing funds surfaced. "People like that always have secrets," Mark said once, his tone sharp. James froze but said nothing. One night, he found an old photo on his phone of William laughing at the beach during their only weekend getaway to Michigan. The memory of salt air and William's hand in his brought tears he quickly wiped away. He deleted the picture, then regretted it instantly. Work became a minefield. The CEO called an all-hands meeting to address the internal threat. James sat 3 rows behind William, watching the man he loved keep his head high while colleagues avoided eye contact. Afterward, William caught James in the elevator. "I miss you," he whispered. James stepped out at his floor without answering, the guilt burning hotter than the shame. That weekend his parents flew in again, this time with Sarah in tow for a casual lunch. James played the part perfectly, laughing at her jokes, but every smile felt like betrayal. Later, alone in his apartment, he stared at the ceiling and whispered William's name aloud for the first time in weeks. The sound cracked something inside him. He grabbed his keys and drove to William's place at 2 in the morning. William opened the door in sweatpants, surprise flickering across his face. They didn't speak. They simply held each other in the doorway, the city humming below them. For one night, the outside world disappeared. But dawn brought reality. James left before coffee, promising himself it was the last time until the investigation cleared. He didn't know the investigation was about to get much worse. The police arrived at the office on a crisp October morning. 2 detectives in plain clothes asked for William by name. James watched from the break room as William was led away in cuffs for questioning. The rumor mill exploded, embezzlement charges, possible felony. James's hands shook so badly he spilled coffee on his keyboard. He texted William's lawyer, the one number he still had saved under a fake name, but received no reply. That night, the local news ran a short segment. Local accountants suspected in major financial fraud at Apex Dynamics. William's face blurred on screen, yet James recognized every line. He drove aimlessly through the city, ending up at the lakefront where they had shared their first real kiss. The wind stung his eyes. At work the next day, Mark cornered him. "Tough break about your buddy. You two seemed close." The way Mark said close sent ice down James's spine. James snapped, "Mind your own business." Mark smirked and walked away. The following week, the company placed William on unpaid leave pending charges. James received a subpoena to testify about any unusual behavior. He spent nights rehearsing answers that protected them both, but the truth kept slipping through. One evening his father called. "Son, I saw the news. That Hayes fellow worked with you, right? Good thing you kept your distance from types like that." James gripped the phone until his knuckles whitened. "Dad, you don't know the whole story." His father laughed. "I know enough. Focus on your future, not some guy's mistakes." The call ended with James staring at the family photo on his desk, the one taken at Christmas where he stood alone while cousins posed with spouses. William's lawyer finally reached out. He won't let me use your relationship as an alibi. Says it would ruin you. James drove to the county jail during visiting hours. They sat across thick glass, palms pressed to the divider. Let me help, James begged. William shook his head. Your mom sent you another photo of Sarah yesterday. I saw it on your phone last time we were together. You deserve the life they want for you. The words landed like punches. James left angry and heartbroken, the misunderstanding between them widening into a canyon. Back home, he drafted a resignation letter, but tore it up. Instead, he started digging on his own, reviewing old project files late into the night. Something didn't add up. The login times for the missing transfers didn't match William's schedule. He printed everything and hid it under his bed. For the first time in months, James felt a spark of purpose. He would prove William innocent even if it cost him everything. But proving it meant facing the truth he had spent years hiding. James's private investigation consumed him. He cross-referenced timestamps, pulled security footage logs, and noticed Mark had accessed the same files the night before the transfers. Confronting Mark felt impossible without exposing everything. Instead, James quietly copied documents and mailed them anonymously to the detective handling the case. Weeks passed with no word. William remained on leave, their communication reduced to brief lawyer updates. James's family sensed something wrong during Thanksgiving. His mother cornered him in the kitchen. You're not yourself, honey. Is it work? He lied again, blaming stress. His father added, that Hayes mess should be a lesson. Stick to your own kind. The words echoed in James's head the entire drive back to Chicago. Christmas brought another blow. Sarah's family hosted a party, and James's parents insisted he attend. He smiled through carols and mistletoe, but every toast felt like a chain tightening. On the way home, he called William. The line rang 6 times before voicemail. I'm sorry, James whispered after the beep. I was wrong to doubt you. He didn't expect a reply. The new year started with more bad news. The district attorney filed formal charges. William's face appeared on every local station. James stopped watching. Instead, he threw himself into work, earning a promotion that felt hollow. Mark clapped him on the back in the elevator. Congratulations. Guess the bad apple got removed. James barely kept his fist from connecting. One freezing February night, James's doorbell rang. William stood on the stoop, snow dusting his coat. They let me out on bail. I needed to see you. They talked for hours. William explained how someone had used his credentials while he was in a meeting. James showed him the copied files. For the first time, hope flickered in William's eyes. You did this for me. James nodded, tears threatening. They fell asleep on the couch, fully clothed, the closest thing to peace they had felt in months. But the next morning, William left early. I won't drag you down with me. James watched him walk away through the falling snow and made a decision. He would go public if it meant saving the man he loved. The cost no longer mattered. 2 days later, he scheduled a meeting with HR and the lead detective. The truth was coming out whether William wanted it or not. The morning of the press conference, James arrived at the station early, heart hammering. Reporters crowded the sidewalk. Inside, the detective greeted him with a nod. We received your package. It helped. Before James could respond, the captain stepped to the podium. Cameras flashed. Today, the Chicago Police Department announces the release of a critical audio recording obtained during the investigation. This evidence reverses the entire case against William Hayes. Gasps rippled through the room. The captain pressed play. Mark's voice filled the speakers, clear and smug. I used his login while he was in that all-day meeting. Figured if I pinned it on him, the board would finally clean house. Saw him and that Thompson guy kissing in the garage last summer. This company doesn't need that kind of distraction. The room erupted. James's legs nearly gave out. William, sitting in the front row, turned and met his eyes across the chaos. The truth was out, and it had nothing to do with money and everything to do with hate. Reporters swarmed. James slipped out a side door and drove straight to William's apartment. They collided in the doorway, years of fear and silence melting away in one long embrace. I should have trusted you from the start, James whispered. William held him tighter. And I should have let you stand beside me. They spent the afternoon talking, really talking, about the future they had both been too scared to claim. That evening, James's phone rang. His mother's voice trembled. We saw the news. Is it true? James took a deep breath. Yes, Mom. William is the man I love. Silence stretched, then his mother said softly, Come home this weekend. We need to talk. The call ended with James crying in William's arms, the relief almost too much to bear. The following days brought media frenzy, but also quiet victories. Mark was arrested. Apex Dynamics issued a public apology and offered William full reinstatement with back pay. James resigned anyway, tired of hiding in the same building. He started his own freelance marketing firm, small but honest. William supported every late night, cooking dinner and reminding him to breathe. The big family confrontation happened on a snowy Saturday in Illinois. James and William drove up together. His father met them at the door, face unreadable. So this is him. William extended a hand. Sir, I love your son. The afternoon unfolded in tense conversations, old arguments, and unexpected tears. His mother hugged William before they left. Take care of each other. It wasn't full acceptance yet, but it was a beginning. Driving back to Chicago, James felt lighter than he had in years. The audio had not only cleared William, it had freed them both. Spring arrived with new beginnings. James's freelance business grew steadily, clients drawn to his honest story that had made national headlines for a week. William returned to Apex, but negotiated flexible hours so they could travel on weekends. Their first trip after the scandal was back to the Michigan beach where they had once shared stolen moments. This time they walked hand in hand in broad daylight, the sun warm on their faces. William stopped at the water's edge and dropped to one knee. I don't need a ring yet, but I need you to know I'm never letting go again. James pulled him up into a kiss that tasted like salt and second chances. They laughed as waves soaked their shoes, the kind of laughter that comes after surviving a storm. Back in Chicago, they moved in together officially. The apartment filled with photos, no more hiding. James's mother started sending care packages addressed to both of them. His father still struggled with words, but sent a text after their first joint holiday. Proud of the man you're becoming. Small steps, but steps forward. One evening, James stood on their balcony overlooking the glittering city and realized the journey had never been about the audio or the case. It had been about choosing himself, choosing love, choosing truth even when the cost felt unbearable. William joined him, wrapping arms around his waist. What are you thinking? James smiled. That we made it. As summer turned the lakefront gold, they hosted a small dinner for close friends. Stories flowed, laughter echoed, and for the first time James felt completely seen. Later that night, lying in bed with William's head on his chest, James whispered, Thank you for waiting for me. William kissed his shoulder. I'd wait forever. The city lights twinkled beyond the window, a reminder that the world outside still had work to do, but inside their home acceptance had already won. James closed his eyes, the weight of years finally lifted. The journey of self-discovery, the fight for love, the long road to family understanding, it had all led here, to this quiet, ordinary happiness that felt like the greatest victory. True or false? In modern America, a single moment of courage can rewrite an entire lifetime of hiding for a gay man.